I'm Eva. I still remember the look on my family's faces when the general manager of the Grand Royale Hotel approached our table. It was as if time had stopped, and all the air had been sucked out of the room. "Miss Eva, your usual ownership suite is ready," he said, his voice clear and confident. The words hit the table like a thunderbolt. My sister, Lily, who had been so full of herself all evening, dropped her fork. My brother, Ryan, fumbled with his phone. My parents sat there, completely stunned, their expressions a mix of confusion and disbelief. I took a deep breath and looked around the table. This was the moment I had been waiting for, in a way. For years, my family had underestimated me, assuming I was just a struggling freelance graphic designer. They had no idea that I was the owner of this luxurious hotel and a successful businesswoman with a thriving hospitality empire. Let me take you back to how we got here. It all started when Lily suggested the Grand Royale Hotel for our annual Thanksgiving dinner. Lily, who was a high-flying real estate agent, had always made it a point to remind me at every family gathering that I was the practical one, not the successful one. She had somehow convinced everyone in the family that her flashy lifestyle and big sales were the epitome of success. When she made the reservation, she asked me in that fake concerned voice, "Are you sure you can afford this place, Eva? I mean, with your little graphic design thing." That little graphic design thing was what they all called my freelance work. What they didn't know was that it had been a cover for my real business for years. While they thought I was barely making ends meet in my small apartment, I was quietly building my own empire. The Grand Royale was Lily's choice because she knew it would make me uncomfortable. The hotel was a sight to behold, with its marble floors that sparkled like diamonds, crystal chandeliers that hung like stars, and a menu with prices that could make anyone's eyes pop. Lily had booked the Thanksgiving dinner in the main dining room and made sure to tell everyone how generous she was being by paying for such an expensive meal. "Don't worry, Eva," she said over the phone. "I've got this covered. I know this kind of place isn't really in your budget." I simply said thank you and showed up in my usual simple black dress and comfortable flats. I didn't need designer labels or flashy clothes to feel confident. But it seemed that my simple appearance wasn't good enough for my family's new standards. My father arrived in his best suit, the one he'd bought for Lily's real estate awards ceremony last year. My mother wore her pearl necklace and kept looking around the dining room nervously, as if she was afraid someone would ask her to leave. Ryan was busy taking pictures of everything, clearly planning to post about dining at such an upscale place on his social media. Once we were seated, Lily announced, "Can you believe Eva suggested we eat at a diner originally?" I had to explain that we're celebrating as a family, not grabbing a quick bite. I hadn't suggested a diner. I'd actually suggested we eat at home, like we used to when I was younger and my mother would spend days preparing her delicious turkey and stuffing. But Lily had insisted that we needed a place that matched our family's success level. The dinner conversation followed a predictable pattern. Lily talked about her latest real estate deals, her new luxury car lease, and the mansion she was looking to buy in the exclusive part of town. Ryan shared updates about his marketing job and his plans to propose to his girlfriend on New Year's Eve. My parents beamed with pride, asking follow-up questions and offering advice. When they turned to me, the atmosphere changed. "So, Eva," my father said, cutting his steak with precision, "how's that graphic design work going?" "It's going well," I replied simply, taking a sip of water. "Staying busy." "Busy with what, exactly?" Lily pressed, her fork paused halfway to her mouth. "I mean, what kinds of projects are you working on? Anything we'd recognize?" I could have told them about the major corporate rebranding projects I'd worked on, the Fortune 500 companies I'd collaborated with, or the numerous design awards I had in my office. But instead, I just smiled and said, "Oh, various things. Logos, websites, marketing materials." Lily exchanged a look with Ryan that I pretended not to notice. It was the same look they'd given each other for years, the one that said they thought I didn't understand the real world. "Well, that's nice," my mother said, her tone clearly indicating that she didn't think it was nice at all. It's important to have hobbies. Hobbies? Ryan laughed. Mom, Eva thinks this is her career. The table went quiet for a moment. 5 years ago, that silence would have made me run to the bathroom in tears. But I had learned that sometimes, the best response is no response at all. I just continued eating my fish as if Ryan's comment was about the weather. Lily jumped back in, apparently uncomfortable with the silence. There's nothing wrong with doing design work on the side. But at some point, you have to think about stability, right? Real income, benefits, retirement planning. She gestured around the opulent dining room. I'm not trying to be mean, Eva, but look around. This is what success looks like. This is what happens when you make smart career choices. My father nodded approvingly. Lily's right. You're not getting any younger, Eva. It's time to think about your future seriously. Maybe we could help you network, Lily offered, in that patronizing tone I'd grown used to. I know some people in marketing who might be able to get you an entry-level position somewhere. Nothing fancy at first, but you could work your way up. An entry-level position at my age, after running my own business for so long. I replied calmly, that's very kind of you. I appreciate the offer. Ryan was scrolling through his phone while eating, periodically showing the table pictures from his Instagram story. Check this out, he said, holding up his screen. Look how fancy this place is. My followers are going to think I'm living the high life. You are living the high life, Lily corrected. We all are. Well, most of us. The meaning was clear, and she didn't even need to look at me. The conversation drifted to other topics. Ryan's promotion prospects, Lily's plans to expand her real estate business, and my parents' plans to renovate their house. I contributed when appropriate, asked the right questions, and played the role of a supportive family member. But things took a turn when the dessert menus arrived. Oh my God, Lily gasped, looking at the prices. $20 for a slice of cheesecake? That's crazy. The whole meal has been expensive, my mother admitted, looking a bit uncomfortable. Lily, honey, are you sure you can handle all this? Lily straightened up, clearly pleased to be seen as the family's financial savior. Don't worry about it, Mom. When you're successful, you can afford to treat your family well. Right, Eva? She looked directly at me, and I could see the challenge in her eyes. This wasn't about dessert prices, it was about establishing a hierarchy. Right, I agreed mildly. I mean, Lily continued, you probably couldn't afford to eat here on your own, could you? Be honest. The table went quiet again. Everyone was waiting for my answer. I could have told them the truth right then. I could have explained that I'd dined at the Grand Royale countless times, that I knew the head chef personally, and that I had a permanent reservation at the chef's table. I could have mentioned that the hotel's entire visual brand, from the logo to the marketing materials to the website, was my creation. But instead, I said, you're probably right. Lily's smile was triumphant. I'm not trying to be mean, Eva. I'm just saying it's important to be realistic about where we are in life. Some people are built for success, and some people are more practical. More practical, my father echoed approvingly. That's a good way to put it. Ryan had gone back to his phone, taking pictures of his dessert. This is going to get so many likes, he muttered, angling the cheesecake for the best shot. Maybe you should tag the hotel, Lily suggested. Let people know where the last name family dines. I watched her pose for Ryan's camera, her arm casually draped over the back of her chair, her smile perfect for social media. The successful real estate agent treating her family to dinner at the city's most exclusive hotel. Eva, get in the picture, Ryan called. Come on, don't be shy. I started to decline, but Lily cut me off. Oh, she doesn't like having her picture taken, she explained to Ryan as if I wasn't sitting right there. Probably doesn't want people to know she can't usually afford places like this. The words hung in the air, and even my mother looked a bit uncomfortable. Lily, she said quietly, that's not very nice. I'm not being mean, Lily protested. I'm being honest. Eva knows I love her. But part of loving someone is helping them understand reality, right? She turned to me, her expression softening into what might have looked like genuine concern to an outsider. Eva, honey, you know I'm just trying to help you, right? Someone needs to tell you these things. You can't even afford to eat here. She pointed at the menu. Look at these prices, Eva. Really look at them. This steak costs more than you probably make in a week with your little design projects. My father was nodding along, convinced that this intervention was necessary. Lily's got a point, Eva. Maybe it's time to face some hard truths about your situation. Stop pretending to be successful. It's okay to admit when you're struggling. That's the first step toward making better choices. The entire dining room seemed to go quiet. I could feel their expectations weighing on me, waiting for me to break down, to admit they were right, and to ask for their help. But I just smiled quietly and said, "You're right." This wasn't what they expected. Lily had been ready for tears or anger. Ryan had probably hoped for a dramatic family conflict. My parents wanted me to show remorse. My calm agreement deflated the tension they'd been building. Lily looked almost disappointed. Well, she said, struggling to find her next words. Good. I mean, that's healthy, Eva. Accepting reality. Just then, I noticed a man in a perfectly tailored black suit approaching our table. I recognized him immediately. Mr. Thompson, the general manager of the Grand Royale Hotel. I'd worked with him for 3 years since I'd acquired the property. He was a brilliant manager, completely professional, and dedicated to maintaining the hotel's reputation for excellence. He walked directly toward our table with a serious expression. My family noticed him approaching. Lily straightened up, probably thinking he was coming to compliment her on her choice of restaurant. My father adjusted his tie, expecting some recognition of our table's importance. Mr. Thompson reached our table and smiled politely at everyone before turning to me. Miss Eva, your usual ownership suite is ready. I apologize for interrupting your meal, but the quarterly reports are ready for your review, and the architect has some questions about the renovation plans for the penthouse floors. Also, the head chef wanted me to ask if you'd prefer the usual wine selection for tomorrow's board dinner, or if you'd like to review some new options. The shock on my family's faces was palpable. Lily's fork dropped to the plate. Ryan's phone fell out of his hands. My parents sat there, speechless. Mr. Thompson continued, seemingly unaware of the silence. I hope everyone is enjoying their Thanksgiving dinner. Please let me know if there's anything else you need. I looked at my family. Lily was pale as a ghost. Ryan was staring at me like I was a stranger. My mother's mouth was open, and her expression was a mix of shock and embarrassment. My father was the first to find his voice. I'm sorry, he said to Mr. Thompson, but I think there might be some confusion. Ownership? Mr. Thompson looked genuinely puzzled. Sir, Miss Eva owns the Grand Royale Hotel. She's had it for about 3 years now. She's scheduled to review the quarterly financials this evening, but I can reschedule if family time takes precedence. He turned to me with a smile. Should I tell the architect you'll meet with him tomorrow morning instead? The silence at our table was deafening. I could feel the shock radiating from my family as they processed what they'd just heard. The daughter they'd been pitying, the sister they'd been worried about, owned the entire hotel. Yes, I told Mr. Thompson calmly. Tomorrow morning would be better. And the usual wine selection will be fine for the board dinner. Excellent, he replied, making a note on his tablet. I'll also let housekeeping know you won't need the ownership suite tonight since you're with family. After Mr. Thompson walked away, the silence continued. Finally, Lily managed to speak, her voice barely a whisper. You own this hotel? Yes, I replied simply, taking a sip of water. The whole hotel? Ryan asked, his phone completely forgotten. Yes. My mother was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. Eva, honey, how? I mean, when did you? About 3 years ago, I confirmed. The previous owners were looking to sell, and the numbers made sense. My father cleared his throat, his businessman instincts kicking in despite his shock. Eva, this must be a multi-million-dollar property. Multi-million is accurate, I agreed. The family exchanged glances. They were trying to reconcile the successful hotel owner sitting in front of them with the struggling graphic designer they'd been condescending to for the past few hours. But, Lily said, her voice growing stronger as she tried to make sense of it all. Your apartment, your clothes, your car. You live like. I mean, you don't live like someone who owns hotels. I nodded. I prefer to keep things simple. Simple, Ryan echoed. Eva, you let us think you were broke. I never said I was broke, I replied. You assumed I was. My father was doing some mental calculations. Eva, if you own this hotel, what does that make you worth? Comfortable, I replied. Comfortable? He pressed. Eva, this place must generate millions in revenue. It does well, I agreed. Ryan was scrolling frantically through his phone. Oh my God, he muttered. Eva, you're on some business website here. Company name. That's you. I nodded. It says you own 5 hotels, and a chain of restaurants, and a luxury resort development company. The business has expanded over the years, I confirmed. My mother was still staring at me. Eva, why didn't you tell us? It was a fair question, one I'd been expecting for 3 years. Because, I said carefully, you never asked what I actually did for work. You assumed graphic design was my career, and I let you assume that. It was easier than explaining something you weren't interested in understanding. Lily's face showed a mix of emotions: shock, embarrassment, anger, and hurt. But Eva, we're your family. We should have known. Should you? I asked. When was the last time any of you asked me a genuine question about my work? Not a dismissive comment about my little design thing, but an actual question about what I do, who I work with, or how my business operates. The silence that followed was the answer. Just then, Mr. Thompson appeared again, carrying a leather folder. MS. Eva, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but the mayor's office called. They'd like to confirm your availability for the tourism board meeting next week. Apparently, there's been a lot of interest in your downtown development project. He placed the folder next to my plate. Also, Forbes wants to schedule a follow-up interview for the hospitality industry feature. Should I have them call your direct line? Forbes. The word echoed around the table. After Mr. Thompson left, my father found his voice first. Eva, you're being featured in Forbes? It's just a small piece about women in hospitality, I replied. Nothing major. Lily was staring at the leather folder. What downtown development project? We're converting some old industrial buildings into a mixed-use complex, I explained. Retail space on the ground level, luxury apartments above. The city's been very supportive. Ryan was back on his phone, researching everything he could find about my business. Eva, there's an article here about you from last year. Rising star in luxury hospitality. It says you started with one property and built it into a regional empire. Regional empire might be a bit strong, I said. But we've done well. My mother was looking around the dining room, seeing it in a new light. This wasn't just a nice restaurant Lily had splurged on, this was my business, my success. I need to ask, Lily said, her voice controlled. What do you actually make? Roughly. Because I've been sitting here talking about my real estate job like it was a huge achievement, and now I find out my little sister owns hotels. The question hung in the air. I could see that the answer mattered to her. Last year, I said carefully, the business generated about $50 million in revenue. Revenue? Not profit, but revenue. The number hit the table like a bombshell. 50 million, my father repeated slowly. Revenue, I clarified. Profit margins vary by property and season. They were looking at me like I was a different person. Lily was quiet for a long time, staring at her dessert. When she finally looked up, her eyes were filled with unshed tears. Eva, I'm so sorry. The things I said tonight, the way I talked to you, I had no idea. I know, I replied gently. That's why I didn't take it personally. But you should have taken it personally, Ryan interjected. We were being horrible to you. We've been horrible to you for years. My mother reached across the table and took my hand.